Upon completing its long pathway through the Padana Plains, the Up River opens up to meet the sea's currents, a place in which an unusual blend of fresh water, salt water, and land are brought together, where man and nature coexist. This close relationship between man and his surrounding environment earned the Up Delta recognition as an MAB UNESCO Biosphere Reserve in 2015. Every biosphere reserve has the function of ensuring sustainable development, protecting habitats and ecosystems, and supporting research and training activities. That's why each reserve consists of 3 distinct areas, which are intricately linked to one another. The core area, in which the ecosystems and plant and animal species are protected. The buffer zone, which helps to preserve the biodiversity. And the transition zone, or rather, the cooperation area, which is not subject to any restrictions. This is where the urban centers are located, which serve as models for sustainable development projects.
A moss-colored plain. A winter with many greens and yellows in the seasons, in which the light is not so strong, and a large river that arrives at its destination, opening up into 6 branches. As if this was the tendency of everything here, opening up.
The Up Delta Biosphere Reserve is a special place where man's relationship with nature has taken on unique characteristics. Human integrity has dramatically altered the environment of the valleys, creating the conditions necessary for the products of these lands to survive. The Up Delta Biosphere Reserve is the youngest territory of the Italian peninsula, and as a place in which the vast biodiversity of this environment is preserved. It relies on the younger generations to render the development of the MAB area even more dynamic and sustainable. The mouth of this great river has been inhabited since prehistoric times. But it was the reclamation work carried out after the First World War that radically altered the relationship between the area's inhabitants and their surrounding environment, creating a synergy that has resulted in numerous stories of excellence in the entrepreneurial, hospitality, and food and beverage sectors. The activity of reclaiming land from the water is crucial to the business of salt production, characteristic of the Up Delta region. In Comacchio, the geometric patterns typical of saltworks can be seen, where new educational itineraries will show you the traditional methods for harvesting white gold. The sandy, water-rich soil has been exploited to produce quality certified produce. Rice, the pride of the Delta culture, and the Chioggia radicchio, both bearing the PGI marking. Not to mention asparagus with controlled designation of origin. But the soil of the Up Delta also bears numerous other fruits: carrots, gourds, melons, Polzano PDO garlic, and many more. The Biosphere Reserve's unique environmental conditions give the Bosco Elicchio DOC wines peculiar characteristics. The water of the Up Delta also interacts with the local architecture. The cities that have arisen in this area, bordering on the land, the river, and the sea, rely upon numerous bridges to connect the various strips of sandy soil that constitutes its surface.
In the soft and powerful vastness of the meandering river, they hide them. Or just let us catch a glimpse. Here an elbow, there an embankment, elsewhere a piece of wooded floodplain, or the turns of the coastal road.
The Ob Delta is the largest wetland in Italy. The geography of what is known as the Delta of the Seven Seas was slowly formed by the waves of the sea, a land without borders, constantly being redesigned by the water, a land in which the natural environment is incredibly rich in terms of biodiversity. The following figures provide us with a measure of the extraordinary variety that the Delta contains. More than 30 species of orchids are present among over 1,000 plant species, with numerous different ecosystems. The channels, sand dunes, lagoons, valleys, pine forest, and expanses of river are all home to a wide variety of plant and animal species that's unrivaled throughout Italy. The dozens of mammals, amphibians, reptiles, and fish that live and thrive in the Ob Delta even include several animal species that are in danger of extinction throughout the rest of Europe. The nuances that the combinations of land and sea assume within the Ob Delta are endless, and one might even happen upon natural habitats that are one of a kind worldwide, populated by protected bird and mammal species. There's the Mesala red deer, one of the 100 deer specimens recognized as genetically distinct from the other red deer populations present throughout Europe. There are so many protected species within the Biosphere Reserve that it is possible to encounter one every kilometer on average. In the Comacchio, Pozzatini, or Baiuna valleys, one might catch a glimpse of a spectacular flock of pink flamingos taking flight around sunset. Having established themselves throughout the entire delta since their arrival in the late 1990s, they make up one of the most populous colonies in all of Italy.
Suddenly, with extreme violence, he felt himself seized by the desire to be, rain or no rain, at any price, in the midst of the valleys, alone.
Mankind has lived on the Ob Delta for several centuries, and our actions have resulted in a virtuous interaction between the seawater, the marshlands, and the branches of the river mouth. And man continues to inhabit this special and widely varied landscape to this day, cultivating ancient works and coming up with new developments for this boundary between land and water. One of the territory's most ancient activities is that of eel fishing. In order to catch these fish during their escape to the ocean, the inhabitants of the delta came up with and built an ingenious system made up of so-called weir channels. This traditional and complex fishing method, which has been developed over time, allows the inhabitants of these lands to fish for adult eels. Visitors can still find fishing huts along the banks and embankments, which were built in order to provide shelter to the local workers. Ancient knowledge has also been handed down in the fields of traditional fishing and marine mollusk, clam and mussel cultivation, and in the so-called sea gardens of Goro and Scardovari. The mussels produced using an ancient system of floating plants and suspended breeding units in the Scardovari Sea Garden were granted a protected designation of origin in 2013. But there's much more to the Ob Delta than just fishing. In fact, this area can be visited year-round and reveals unexpected aspects and nuances to visitors on every occasion. The numerous means of exploring the Biosphere Reserve leave room for imagination. From horseback riding to hiking and biking, you can even take a boat or kayak all the way down to the sea in order to enjoy all the lush nature that this splendid environment has to offer. The Ob Delta opens up to anyone who wants to traverse this stretch of land, slowly taken from the water by man, and allow their eyes to take in all the contours carved out by the great river during its endless journey to the sea.